Hello and welcome to another 100% human video, my friends. The Elden Ring DLC is around the corner, and we're all waiting to plunge into the next From Software content hole. So I thought, to shorten your waiting period by around 10 to 15 minutes, I will do something I was asked repeatedly for on stream. A From Software games tier list. What I will do in this video now is list all the Soulsborne Sekiro Ring games from worst to best. Keep in mind, this is my opinion and yours might vary from mine, which is perfectly fine. So without further ado, let's get this party started. Number 7. Demon's Souls, or Demon's Souls Remake. Demon's Souls is not a bad game at all. Just to be clear, it's just the one I enjoy playing the least. Not only is it level based, which is not my favorite type of structure, also its boss fights really lack challenge and depth in my opinion. You can tell that FromSoft already tried out a lot of different boss designs, and it's absolutely fair to say that Demon's Souls had to walk so Dark Souls could start running. As From's first Souls title, we have to admit that it started something great, but the game itself is just not as enjoyable for me than the rest. Number 6. Dark Souls 2. Okay, here it is, guys. If we start talking about the trilogy itself, I have to admit that Dark Souls 2 is the weakest of these three games. It's unfortunately one of those titles where I do not like the things From Software tried to implement into their new game. For example, the healing stones, ADP stat to level up your iframes you get while rolling, no initial iframes while opening a chest, or maybe going through a fog wall. That said, they also introduced some cool new mechanics from what used to improve their titles in their future portfolio. One would be the power stancing. The boss fights are also a great up and down on Dark Souls 2. Some are really awesome, and others are just terrible in comparison. For example, the Dark Lurker is super awesome, and Nashka is just a Walmart Quellac. On top, the enemy placement is just so overdone in some areas, like for example the Shrine of Amana or Iron Keep. It feels like they just put them everywhere to artificially make it harder by pure numbers of enemies. Since I do not want to end on a negative point here, I'll mention that all 3 DLCs for Dark Souls 2 are absolutely amazing, and I highly recommend playing through the game at least once. There's a lot of people out there loving this game to death. Number 5. Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 1 is just magical on the first playthrough and has maybe one of the best semi-open interconnected worlds I have ever played in. Unfortunately, it has some problems with it that makes the upcoming 4 games a little better in my opinion. First would be the 4-directional roll. If you want an omnidirectional roll, you basically can't use the lock-on system on this game. It takes away all the diagonal rolls, which is terrible, especially on a challenge run. Some bosses like the Bat of Chaos, Ceaseless Discharge, Centipede or Capra Demon are just not cool to fight at all as well. Oh, and one last negative point is that the last boss, Gwyn, can be really easy if you utilize the parry on him, which can make the ending a little anticlimactic. Other than that, what a game. It started one of the best trilogies in video game history. Go and play Dark Souls 1, guys. And here it comes, my personal number 4, Sekiro. Sekiro is different. It has a completely different, but probably one of the best combat systems From Software ever created. I remember the moment it clicked for me the first time. It was fighting Rooftop Genichiro, and after I understood what I was doing, it became so addictive. The sword-to-sword combat in this game just feels very special, and that back and forth makes it super satisfying to fight an enemy. Unfortunately for me as a challenge runner, it also has many memes that can end your run as quickly as you started it. From Software is known as a company that loves to try new things to be innovative about their new titles, and Sekiro shows exactly that. Yes, there are some repetitive boss fights on this game, but overall, it has some of the hardest yet fairest boss encounters I've ever fought in any From Software title. Now to number 3, Bloodborne. I'd say Bloodborne is an almost perfect game for me. it's a 9.5 out of 10. Amazing bosses, amazing lore, amazing world building, amazing weapons, new super cool parry system with guns, limb stagger mechanic, and I could go on for I don't know how long. But there are 4 reasons why I think Bloodborne is only, quote unquote, number 3 for me. And those reasons are the limitations to 30 FPS, obviously, a non-existing lantern to lantern port system. You always have to go back to the dream if you want to access a new area, and non-customizable controls, which makes it hard for you, for example, to either sprint or roll. You can't do both at once. Like in other games, I can sprint and then roll out of the sprint animation. And the last one would be random gestures that can't be turned off. We could also talk about the console exclusivity, of course, but we all know that Bloodborne will release for PC in a couple of days. Number 2. I can't decide. Since you guys know what 2 games are left, I have to make an announcement. I think these 2 games left are so close to each other that I'm not willing to make one of these the number 2. So let's just do this. Number 1. Dark Souls 3 and Elden Ring. Both of these games were a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me. I played both of them for endless hours already. Admittedly, Dark Souls 3 a little bit more, and I have to tell you that both have a special place in my heart. Dark Souls 3 is not only the best Souls title in my opinion, it also has the best boss fights, and it's just pure quality overall. Every boss except for maybe the tree is pure art, and I love them all. While Elden Ring has obviously some quantity over quality issues, it has one of the most beautiful open worlds I have ever played in and a sheer endless amount of replayability to offer. I love to challenge run both of these titles for different reasons, and if you did not play one of these titles, what are you even doing? Obviously I could go on what I love about these 2 games for the next hour or so, but it would be a little bit too long for this video, so I'm going to wrap it up by saying, I hope you enjoyed this video a little bit and it gives you more insight of how I feel about these From Software titles we just talked about. If so, make sure to subscribe here or maybe follow my Twitch channel, link down below, for daily streams where we challenge run all of the games mentioned here. I know I did not talk about the DLCs a lot, so I could make a video about those additions to most From Software titles except Sekiro in the future. Let me know in the comments down below, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I love you. Say it back.